Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the FF Expo at Home. So this is for all you people like me and all my friends that are joining me tonight that couldn't make it to the expo. We're all going to have a big party from our homes. So hop on, grab a drink, kick back, and let's have some fun and talk some fantasy football. So I am your host for the weekend, if you will, FF Shane B on Twitter, Shane Barrett, co-host of the Fantasy Nightcap and co-founder of the FF Collective. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube to the collective and like and subscribe to the podcast Fantasy Nightcap on your preferred podcasting network. With that being said, I'm going to bring in our guests one at a time and give them an intro and then let them plug anything they want to plug. So, with that being said, our first guest is Mr. Brett Brito, I think. I'm probably
got it right.
Recognize that. But he is at DadBodBread on Twitter and a new contributor for The Cut. And those are my friends, I believe Christian Williams and I think Jeff Bell is there too. But Christian Williams at least is the, I know one of the founders and he's a good dude and knows his shit. So Brett, how you doing tonight?
Hey, doing great. New contributor, have a couple articles in draft, but nothing actually out yet. I just put my top 25 rankings by position on Twitter.
Very nice.
Late last night, so that's out there, and anything else that comes out, you can find it on Twitter for sure.
Awesome. Well, then tonight might be a fun show for you with what we have planned. So, anything you want to plug? Well, that was your plug. So here we go. Next guest, drum roll, please, Mr. Evan Ritter. You can find him on Twitter at @Rit3. He covers season-long fantasy, DFS, and betting for goingfor2.com and will be on the Fantasy Cheat Sheet live every Friday night through the NFL season. Evan, how are you doing?
How's it going, fellas? Thanks for having me first and foremost. So plugs goingfor2.com for all your fantasy football content. I'll be doing an over-under article every week throughout the NFL season. So that and also some DFS help. So find me on Twitter. And for that's the plug.
All right, let's get it. So next is the guy that helped me put this all together, who was the mastermind behind this brilliant idea, and I just put everything. I just connected people. That's what I do. But he was the mastermind, the evil genius. He's greater than everybody. He's less than nobody. Mr. Matt McCarthy, who is a senior redraft analyst for gridironratings.com and an expert ranker for fantasypros.com. You can find him on Twitter at MattThotical1.
Yep.
Matt, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm great. Yeah, exactly. That's how it all came together, right? So I don't know how to put things together. I'm an idiot, but I was like, okay. I first off did want to go to my 10-year reunion for my high school, so I was like, I need to do something this weekend. So I put it out there, and all you fine folks decided, hey, I want to do something. I want to be part of this. I want to talk some football. Whoever comes and joins us, I love that. Whoever wants to talk their piece about some fantasy football, I love that. Because I wanted to do a little community thing every single day. I talk about, hey, there's a person under 5,000 followers for the Nifty 91. I'm like, listen, I want to talk to some people in the community. I like a lot of the people in here, except one guy. It's probably coming up next. Starts with a C and last name starts with an M. I gotta bust his balls a little bit. But yeah, in terms of things to plug, so I am the senior redraft analyst over at Gridiron Ratings, not Going for Two. I used to be for Going for Two. Actually, my first article dropped today talking about the New England tight ends.
Ooh.
So players I was really low on going into the season. Dug deep, went through 2 hours of film, which I know some people on Twitter love to talk about, all about the 2011 New England Patriots and how I think this year can mirror what they did back in 2011. So check it over at gridironratings.com. And for my full PPR redraft rankings at fantasypros.com and gr.com as well.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I will have to check that article out because they're a confusing pair, the two of them. Especially
I might help you. Together. Listen.
So I will definitely be checking that out. All right, next up is a fellow Going for Two person. That was horrible, but I have been a guest on his podcast, Brothers of Dynasty, where he co-hosts with literally his two brothers, and he is also a writer at goingfor2.com. Mr. J. Christensen.
What's
who you
going
can
on,
follow
Shane?
on Twitter at JC_DFF. I am good, man. How are you?
Great. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks to you and Matt for putting this together. I got my drink. I'm ready to expo this up at home. Like you said, writing for Going for Two. Write a lot of Dynasty articles, big into the Dynasty stuff. So I write some Dynasty articles for them. Actually, part of that fantasy cheat sheet show with Evan coming up in the fall. So we'll be co-hosting together along with Mike from Going for Two as well. So that'll be cool. Looking forward to that. And then, like you said, podcasting with my brothers. We do Brothers of Dynasty every week. We had Shane on. It was a good time. We talked Dynasty football. Now we're kind of talking a little redraft, kind of previewing the season. And then, during the year, we'll do what everybody else does and talk about the games. So looking forward to the season. Got preseason on, and I'm ready to talk some football tonight.
Awesome. I love it. All right. And last but not least, you guessed it, another writer for Going for Two and at Team Riser Fall, commissioner of an exciting new league, reality fantasy football league that called Fantasy Football Show. Try saying that 5 times fast. His name is Chris Mashinsky, and he is at the Commish FF on Twitter. Chris, how are you doing tonight? And please tell us more about Fantasy Football Show.
Yeah, I'm doing great. So thank you to you and Matt, even though he, expresses his hate for me. I love you too, brother. But I'm excited to be here with everybody. So like I said, writer for Going for Two and Team Riser Fall. But me and my buddy Mark Shue, he's a primetime mock, if you've heard of him, kind of put together this reality fantasy football show where it's like a guillotine league mixed with some DFS and season-long stuff where at least one team's eliminated every single week. There's going to be a 22-team league to start, so there'll be some twists and turns and some fun stuff like that. So, like, if you're a fan of Big Brother, like me and Mark are, it kind of has some Big Brother stuff mixed in with like fantasy football. So, the handle for that on Twitter is Fantasy FFB Show. Follow us there, or you can just message me or follow me on Twitter, and I do tweet about it too. So, but yeah, excited to be here and talk some redraft and some player stuff for the season.
Awesome. I love that. And that sounds really cool. I may have to hit you up for that.
You should. I want to play in it so bad. It's a pretty cool idea. We'll see how it goes in our pilot season.
And what are the challenges? I know there's secrets with that. I was like,
we're going to work on it soon. So
eat something or do something crazy.
No, that was another guy from we were talking to last night that does some
that was
fear factor stuff. No, we're not doing stuff like that.
I want to do that.
No, thank you. I'm not about that life.
Shout out to Clayton. He might be joining us as a special guest sometime this weekend. I'm not exactly sure. Travis says next year. Yep, we can all possibly make it next year. Raj, what's up, dude? He's a fellow Rum Boys analyst and does a lot of crap. So for Rum Boys, what's up, Mike? There's Mike Hicks. So you guys were talking about him earlier. So so tonight. Well, actually, before we talk about what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to go ahead and lay out the itinerary for the week. So we got tonight, obviously. Tomorrow, we are doing draft night in at around the same time that draft night out at the actual expo is occurring. We are starting at 1 o'clock Eastern and going until 3 o'clock Eastern. That's when my kids nap, so that's why I can get away with it. But what we are doing then is the 6 of us and some other guys that are involved in the weekend are going to do a redraft league. And then depending on what we want to do with it, I think Brett has already gotten a co-owner to donate to charity to join him. I probably will do the same. If you want to bring on a friend to be a co-owner with you, that's cool. But that's our plan tomorrow from 1 to 3. Tomorrow night, and this is where we need you people, we are doing a panel of experts where we're going to take questions directly from the chat, or if you're feeling real ballsy, we will actually pull you in from out there onto the stream with us, so then you can ask the question and we'll discuss it with you right there and then have you hop off. So be prepared for that. And then finally Sunday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're going to do a wrap-up show, talk about anything that we feel like we haven't really covered, and maybe talk about the preseason games that happened this weekend. So with that being said, tonight we are going to basically do player A or player B or player 1 or player 2, whatever the hell you want to call it. And I've come up with a list of players, and I'm going to give everybody on the panel the 2 options, and then we're going to talk about it. So y'all ready to get started?
Of course.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's rock and roll. So first 2 players. I personally love this one. This is a very intriguing one to me. We've got Chase Claypool or Cortland Sutton. And Chris, we'll start with you.
It's kind of funny. I saw that today. I was actually, hopefully no one at my job is watching this, probably not. But I wrote an article today that's coming out next week about guys that I don't love at their ADP for wide receiver. And that was one of them was Chase Claypool. So spoiler alert. Not that I don't like Chase Claypool. I just love Deontay Johnson. And also don't love what the Steelers are probably going to do with the ball, and that's probably run it down everyone's throat with Najee Harris. So, oh man, but this is still a tough one. I will probably go Sutton for upside because I still think he can be the number 1 in Denver, even though Jerry Jeudy is there and come on the quarterback situation there too. But I'm going to lead towards Sutton with a little bit less competition for targets to have a better season.
Interesting. I will share my thoughts in just a minute. Jay, Cortland Sutton or Chase Claypool?
Yeah, for me, I love Claypool. I think if you're looking for upside, that would be the guy that I'm kind of shooting at this year. I think we talked about it when you were on my show. I leaned Deontay Johnson because he just has such a healthy target share there.
Yeah.
But, man, they involved Claypool so much in his rookie season. They find ways to get him the ball. They're giving him, like, end arounds, things like that. They'll do that near the goal line. I just think if he could put it together this year and he gets a little bit more of the share, I mean, that's the guy who can be a wide receiver 1. That's the type of upside he's working with. So I lean Chase Claypool over Cortland Sutton. I still worry about Drew Lock there. Don't like the quarterback situation in Denver. That worries me. And he's coming off an injury. And Claypool's just a freak, man. Athletic freak. And I think he could take a big step forward this year.
I gotcha. All right. Evan, Chase Claypool or Cortland Sutton?
Yeah, for me, it's Claypool. Jay hit on a lot of what I would say as well. For where you can get him, I love it. I mean, he had 9 touchdowns last season. While I think he could hit that mark again, he may be in for a little touchdown regression. But I still think, in that offense, how I don't see Ben, going away from the short passes and peppering his receivers with targets. So I think Deontay and Claypool will get a ton of targets again. And then just how they use Claypool in that offense, they're going to find ways to get him the ball. And I really like Sutton as well, but it comes down to the quarterback play for me. It's just, it's too iffy for Sutton to surpass Claypool for me.
Yep. I'll share my thoughts in just a minute. Brett, Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I think we all agree that Deontay is the wide receiver 1, and Cortland can definitely be the wide receiver 1 for the Broncos. But I agree with Evan that quarterback play just kind of knocks Cortland down. Plus, he's still dealing with that injury from last year. And then Claypool feels like the upside guy. I definitely, if they're both on the board, I'm taking Claypool.
Yep. I like being the outlier here. I love it. I love it. You guys forgot Juju Smith is still there, and Big Ben loves him.
So if we've got Juju coming up on the list, so I'll save my thoughts for Juju for when he comes up.
All right, Matt.
So I know why you picked these 2 guys, 100%, because they're so close in ADP, and I know that's why you kind of target it, right? So Claypool, you have to understand what the thinking with him is. Who is going to be the 2 prime receivers when they go in just 2 wide receiver sets? How often is he coming off the field? Sutton is supposed to be the alpha receiver over in Denver. Now, quarterback play, we're not going to be very happy with going into it, but we're going to have the same quarterback situation we're going into 2020, whether it's Drew Lock and whether it's going to be Bridgewater. Neither guy is going to be really good enough to win you weeks constantly, but they do have a good enough plethora of weapons over there in Denver to not really knock Sutton down that much further. If they had a QB of just middling sort of talent, if they got Stafford, if they got Rodgers in an advanced age that he's getting to, if we had a guy go there that wasn't of bottom 10 sort of quality of quarterbacks, I think Sutton would have been pushed up towards like wide receiver 15 or so. his value is getting depressed here because of we're not comfortable with the quarterback play. But target volume you still want to chase. And I think he's still good enough on a per reception basis that if he's going to just be able to work the way he wants to on any sort of given play, Sonnen's my primary option there. Claypool, it's very easy for me to not go with a guy that's going to be possibly the third option at just his receiving group. I know a lot of people are very high on Najee Harris to try and get in there and step into a lot of work in Pittsburgh. 11 touchdowns, guys like him, guys like Adam Thielen, Josh Jacobs, these are guys who are easy to target that are going to be overdrafted because touchdown volume was such a big part of their 2020 seasons. You don't get points for drafting players who had a good 2020. Claypool for me is behind Sutton. Still a good receiver 3, going to be mixed in. Just 11 touchdowns, that's something I can't account for. And the target volume, I would lean Sutton's way, even with poor quarterback play.
Why you guys sound so much smarter than the rest of us, man? So
they'll just say, I like Sutton because he's good.
Yes, we're forgetting that because he's out last year.
Where do you have them in your ranks, Matt? If you know that off the top, do you?
Oh, off the top of my head, you can actually. I have a personal link to my ranks through fantasypros.com. We're always chilling, boys.
Right.
Currently, for full PPR, I have Cortland Sutton as my wide receiver 28. That's in my tier 6, and I have the Claypool at wide receiver 32. Okay. I might even move him behind one of my favorite picks receiver this year, which would be Antonio Brown. So good chance that I'm going to, you know what, do that right now. So he's wide receiver 33. Thank you.
Love the meat on the bone for Brown.
Yes, that was the most targeted receiver for Tampa Bay down the stretch in terms of the red zone in the regular season. Only one target behind Mike Evans for the team lead. That team really came together, and Gronk disappeared when Brown actually came about. Antonio Brown, that is really my real focus for receivers over in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I do like quite a bit. Mike Evans, I think, is 2 touchdown dependent. When all 3 are on the field, he was the worst of the 3 in a fantasy points per game situation. Antonio Brown should be a target in every single one of your leagues. 100%.
Totally agree.
Yep, I like that. Okay, so finally I'm up.
Sorry,
I can go. That.
No,
you can tie it, or you can put it to Claypool.
No, I'm going Claypool.
That's okay.
I like both of these guys, and that's actually why I put them together, is because I don't really know who will actually have the better year, if you will. Because like Matt said there, I got to remember which way to point. Cortland Sutton has a very easy path to being the wide receiver 1 in Denver. Chase Claypool does not have that path. And like Matt said, Claypool is very touchdown dependent. Now, the thing that makes me pick Claypool is similar to, I think, what Jay said, how they use him in that offense in multiple ways. They give him the ball, rushing the ball, so he can score touchdowns that way. He's also just an athletic freak and huge, so he's going to be a red zone target just due to that fact. So while he is touchdown dependent, I think his talent and his skill set and his size give him the opportunity to continue to be a touchdown hog, if you will. So that's my thoughts on Claypool. But I like both of these guys. So if you have to pick between the two, I'm not going to be mad either way. But I'm going with Claypool just because, and it's slightly a homer pick too.
And the general consensus, I think, is totally on with you. Like we said, being within 5 picks currently for Fantasy Pro is full PPR ADP. Yeah. The general population is seeing these guys as very similar. T. Higgins, Juju Smith-Schuster, you have a lot of these Cincinnati and Pittsburgh receivers are going to be very interesting to kind of figure out. Claypool is currently, I believe, the second of the receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster is going latest of the Pittsburgh receivers, which means he's probably my favorite.
They're almost back to back, though.
Yeah, so it's
very close.
Being a toss-up, I like those things because in your general drafts there might change, but if you have a normal average person who plays in 1 or 2 leagues and just looks up on a site that's Fantasy Pros that's so popular, and they're like, oh, I see that Claypool's going ahead of him. Oh, and he's also he had a great rookie season, 11 touchdowns. Those are sort of things you got to look out for and advise people. And it's like, okay, in those situations where the receivers are very packed together in terms of, their overall outputs, what they can be on a points per game basis, Juju would then become my favorite because then it's like, okay, I can get him a little bit later than the other guys are going. Also got a question for you guys. Mike Williams in the 10th round of a full PPR league. What do you guys think about Mike Williams this year?
Is he hurt again already?
Oh yeah, but he's gonna be hurt every single week. So
I think he just had something pop up. It was yesterday. I think I saw something.
Yeah,
yeah, he's
I can't do Mike Williams. I don't know.
In the 10th round, I'm always going to take my shot on Mike Williams.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, can you make a mistake there in the
You're-
10th? I don't know. Like it's,
You're
Yeah.
basically picking Mike Williams or Darnell Mooney, and I'll take Mike Williams.
some of the
I like
receivers that
Darnell
went
Mooney.
like right ahead of him were
I like Mooney.
Devontae Parker,
just
Russell
fresh face.
Gage.
Yeah. See,
I take him over Gage.
I have so much Gage
Oh,
this,
I would
this
take him
summer.
I would take him in 3 seconds over Gage. Like
Yeah,
in that 3
Mooney,
seconds,
I
would
might.
be
I'd take
opening
Mooney.
my
Maybe.
phone, opening Sleeper, and being like, "Oh, hey, there's Mike Williams," and then looking, "Oh, hey, there's my Russell Gage." Yeah, no, I'm still going Mike Williams.
Yeah, I like what Lombardi's going to do there. Joe Lombardi was the quarterback's coach over for the New Orleans Saints. Comes over, new offensive coordinator, right? Anthony Lynn's out over in Detroit, and they're going to have some fun over there with DeAndre Swift, right? I like what Lombardi can do possibly for Eckler and Keenan Allen, but Mike Williams, I'm still a little interested to see what other people's ideas of, because every single year we're waiting for him to repeat that 20 yards per reception season he had a few years back. But with him, it's how much can they take advantage of his skill set compared to Eckler, who's great, receiving out of the backfield. And they make guys like Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram was a receiving back in New Orleans a few years ago, and now it's a completely different story. And Keenan Allen runs just as good, best routes in the league. So I like those guys a lot. But I really wanted to hear what you guys thought about Mike Williams, because I don't know if he's going to get the same advantage the other people. I was talking with Swagman. He's over at with the
Ball Blast and
Ball Blast. Thank you, Sam Wagman. So I was talking with him, and we're like, hey, the big Mike Williams guy. And I was like, all right, good conversations. I like Williams, but I don't know if he's going to get the big advantage that the other guys are going to get. But on to the next players. Sorry, I can talk and talk. So.
Mike Williams on the list. I don't know.
I hope he is.
JB, we'll add him in.
JB Cho is actually the guy who he just DM'd me saying, "Hey, you're up," and I was like, "All right, Mike Williams is my pick." In a league I'm playing with him.
Love it. All right, so next 2 players on the list are, ironically enough, Deontay Johnson and Jerry Jeudy. So this may have been scripted. So Deontay Johnson or Jerry Jeudy. Matt, we're going to start with you this time.
These guys are like 3 tiers apart for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So Sutton healthy. Jerry Jeudy, I know he's going into his second year, so we don't have to really talk like so poor of what his 2020 was. But I am a little worried when Tim Patrick was the best receiver in Denver and Jeudy, who was this big prospect coming into the league. What does he look like now with Cortland Sutton? What does he look like with Noah Fant? Another year of him. I think it's a very crowded secondary option in Denver, because Sutton, I just said, came out and I was like, all right, that's, I think, the primary dog there for Denver. But who's that second guy?
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson was a player who could possibly be a 150 target guy with how they wanted to play. I know he has a big case of the oopsie doopsies. I got butter on my hands sort of deal. But outside of that,
on that for you.
Yeah, outside of that, I'm not really one to be super afraid of going in Deontay Johnson as a top 20 receiver. I really like Deontay Johnson quite a bit. And again, it's really just a matter of Claypool. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is just better on a receptions basis, and I think that matters a lot. And Deontay Johnson, if he's being targeted so heavily like that, and an offense that could be 600 sort of passing, volume like they've been the 2 years that Ben's been really healthy and full go. Yeah. So with the additional game. Also, Jeudy is nowhere near for me. I'm like way out on Jeudy this year. If I just want Sutton, and Sutton's my wide receiver 28, Jeudy is my wide receiver 38. Johnson's up there at 19. So it's just, I'm totally out on Jeudy. This is not dynasty. This is redraft. I'm not a dynasty guy. You don't want to talk dynasty, find those people. I'm the redraft boy. I don't want none of
right
that.
Here.
So.
Dynasty.
Yeah, but below me, maybe to the sides, but not here.
Other way, Jay. Okay,
I'm not
so
used to the
boxes.
The
mirror. The center.
We're in Hollywood Squares, man.
That my light switch is right here, so then I can just point that way to Matt, and then down for Evan, and that should help. So I'll dive in real quick. The Deontay Johnson was reading a thread between a couple of PTs on here, and one thing that they brought up that I don't feel like a lot of people discuss, and something that I try to bring up, is Deontay Johnson had a concussion last year, and the way that he got hit or where his concussion was located, it ended up causing depth perception issues and kind of spatial awareness issues. So that is probably honestly what led to as many drops as he had last year, because he was battling it all year.
Yeah, hands up if you've had a concussion, by the way. Okay. So me and Shane, right? Concussions. I almost died. One of my veins in my head partially collapsed when I hit my head on a beam. Concussion. I couldn't see not these glasses, but I had like Ray-Bans glasses in a warehouse, a dim warehouse for like a week. So it's not a joke. I don't understand why people
for like a week with the last one I had. And
it
was from a car accident. So
yeah, concussions are bad. So
yeah. So just imagine trying to play football.
I could not
and catch the ball with that little ability to focus. The other thing, kind of injury related, another thread I was reading is Ben's coming off year 2 of that UCL surgery, and usually in year 2 people play even better because they've built up the strength back up. So with these two, honestly, I'm probably going Deontay, but I think from a dynasty perspective, and Jay, we'll ask you about this too, I think Judy has the potential to get up to Deontay's level, especially because after this year, if Locke or Teddy isn't worth a damn, they're out of there, and Denver hopefully is smart enough to draft a quarterback next year. And this is a pretty deep quarterback class for 2022. So the other thing which they both kind of battled with was the drops. But my big thing is drops don't matter if the volume keeps coming. And it kept coming for both of them. Judy had over 100 targets. I think he was bottom 20 in catchable target rate, and combined with his drop. So I'm still in on Judy. This answer is still Deontay, though. But look out for Judy, especially from a dynasty perspective. All right, Brett, hit me.
Yeah, I have these guys even further than Matt does. So I have Deontay, wide receiver 17, and Judy 36. So yeah, I'm going Deontay all the way. And he had 22% target share last year. I think it's actually going to go up this year a little bit, and I absolutely think he gets 150 targets, and might even see his TDs go up a little bit. I think DJ's juicy.
Love it.
Okay. He needs to be the center square now after that answer.
Well, I moved it in the order of the way that I have your tags set up for the banners. So now I can just keep going in this order, back and forth, and pulling
All
names
right.
is easier. All right, Evan. Clearly these two are pretty far apart for everyone. How far apart are they for you? And I'm assuming you're taking Deontay first.
Yeah, taking Deontay. I have Deontay. I don't have it on. I think it'd be like 22. And Judy right around where everyone else had him, 34, 36.
Yep.
I do like Judy. I think, we're hoping that Teddy is the quarterback for him. I think he's better suited for his skill set, the timing-based routes. And while he did have the drops last year, he saw over 1,500 in air yards. Judy did. That was like 6 a month wide receivers. So I mean, like you said, as dynasty goes, there's still a lot of potential there. And I mean, seeing some video of him in camp, he's been, running some precise routes. It's just they're too far apart. I mean, Deontay Johnson had over 140 targets last year. While he had drops too, he 6.4 yards per target. If that was just, according to Fantasy Pros, Matt, if that was just up to 7.4 yards, that would put him in the wide receiver 14 range last year. So I mean, the upside's there for wide receiver 1 upside, but lock him in for wide receiver 2 all day, especially with the additional game. You know what I mean? So he has the chance to go over easily over 150 targets. Gotta love that, especially in PPR.
Definitely. All right, Jay. Where do you have these guys in redraft, and where do you have them in dynasty?
I redraft. I'm pretty much with everybody. I'm pretty high on Deontay. I think I have him right around, 18, 19, and then Judy's back in the 30s. So it's the same situation as everybody else. It's pretty much all the same points. Judy and Locke's connection last year for receivers over 50 targets. I mean, Judy was under, he's a 47% catch rate. Some of that's on him. A lot of that's on Drew Lock, but if that connection is the same thing this year, I'm actually with Evan. I've been saying the same thing. I'm like, I think Bridgewater, the safe game manager, is probably better for the precise route runner in Judy. And I'd probably rather see that if I own, if I have Judy on a roster. It's like, I'd rather see Teddy B in some games. I think that might be better for his overall outlook for the season. For Dynasty, though, the outlook is still great for Judy, just because some of the same points that he did get down the field last year. Air yards was good. If he could just connect on some more passes, he would actually jump up the ranks in terms of where he finished. And I think that outlook, if the quarterback situation gets a little better, could be good. And those route runners, we see it with guys like, Robert Woods or some of the different guys who are just kind of technicians. Keenan Allen, those guys, longevity, they get separation and they can really produce for you year in and year out. If he could just get into a groove with the quarterback, I think you'll see good things. So I have them really close. In Dynasty, they're both right around 22 right there. Wide receiver still pretty deep. They're like back to back pretty much in my rankings, in a tier of guys like Kupp and Woods are kind of on the way out. If I see a good year from Judy, though, he's probably jumping up to the teens, in Dynasty easily. I just need to see it first, see that situation get better. One of the comments is great. I think Andrew put it in there. Denver, you talk about getting him a new quarterback. They passed on Fields. So they had a chance.
Judy is only 22 too. So if Dynasty outlook, he has plenty of time to get it together.
I would have loved Fields on that. That would have been.
That would have been.
I thought they were going to do that, and then I got
Denver
excited.
has so many pieces. You know what I mean? Like on the defensive side of the ball, and
if you take away the quarterback, Denver's an 8-8 team, right?
Exactly,
9-8 team right now. If you give them a competent quarterback, they easily make a. Well, I won't say easily because that division will be absolutely filthy.
Good division,
but they still compete for a playoff spot with a competent quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is going to get out to like an 8-0, and then finish 9-8. So we just have to wait for that to happen.
Yeah, with a quarterback, everyone's talking about Denver with a lot more confidence. You know what I mean? So
yeah, so I'm actually going to flip it, Chris. So since you're going to be the last one bringing out here for the receivers, so twofold. Give us like real quick on the receivers, but also I want to know what you prefer for the quarterbacks. Would you prefer to see Locke or Bridgewater out of the gate?
All right. So to answer the comparison again, it's a lot of the same thing. So I have Johnson at 17 and Judy at like 33. So pretty far apart. Judy, again, doing my research today on my article, Judy and Claypool are very close in like catch percentages. Like obviously Judy was worse, but Claypool's like 56%. They both had like an ADOT of like 13.5 yards. So of course, if those kind of guys catch more passes, their yardage shoots up like crazy. But Judy had no touchdowns in the red zone last year. So he's like, he's like, obviously Claypool's a touchdown machine and he can score running the ball or catching it. But Judy's like the big play guy. So I'll take the volume all day long. Everyone else's point, obviously we all like Johnson, but if you give this guy 10.5 targets a game, I'm going to take that 9 times out of 9. But for quarterback wise, I think I've talked about, maybe it was on your show, Jay, but I feel like I'm talking about Locke versus Bridgewater like a million times.
We did do the West.
I have deja vu. I've been here before.
We'll just play the clip. Play the clip.
Yeah, right. Hit it. For fantasy purposes, I'll take Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I know McCaffrey was out last year, so it made Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, guys like that all fantasy viable. So I think Bridgewater can kind of do the same for his offensive weapons better than Drew Lock can. For that simple reason, because he won't turn the ball over a million times and he won't take the shots that Drew Lock will take. He'll be safe. So even better for Cortland Sutton, actually, if you're going to play it safe. But yeah, for fantasy, you want to see Bridgewater out there.
Yeah. Okay, so these next two, and Evan, I don't know why, or Chris, I don't know why I took your handle down because you're still next. These next two, I think, are probably far apart for everyone. But it's a fun discussion to have. So we're going to talk about it because I think both of them have the potential to be the wide receiver 1 on their team this year. So our next two are CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle, right?
Yes, I had to look it up. I wasn't even sure who was next. I was trying
CeeDee
to
Lamb
be surprised, but
and Jalen Waddle. So Chris, you start us off. How far apart are these guys for you? What's the upside look like for Waddle though?
I feel like, I mean, Waddle, like, I don't know. I am not in on Waddle. I'm not a fan. It's partially because of Tua, partially from my love of Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. I'm a Penn State fan, so Gesicki has a little space in my heart too. But like, why do Waddle have like 60 career catches in Alabama? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what we're so excited about. I'll probably be so wrong on Waddle, and I am prepared for it.
So treat it like more like an ADP question then. So at Lamb's ADP, are you in on him going out and going to go get him? And for Waddle, right? So think about it in that sort of sense, because obviously ranks wise, these guys would be very far apart. But I think what people have to also think about is, would you rather have A at this ADP or B at their ADP? Right?
Well, yeah, I was slowly getting there. So I am very out on Waddle. So I am in on, I'll take CeeDee Lamb in his ADP. I don't know where Lamb is currently off the top of my head.
He's going to wide receiver 12.
Up. Yeah, he's probably climbed up to around there, which I had him a little bit lower than that initially, but I'm coming around to moving Lamb up and getting Cooper further down. So I will take Lamb because Lamb's he's gonna finish probably as a wide receiver 1, if not very close to it. And Waddle, I don't know where he's going, but he's too high for me because I think I have him like the 40s. So he's probably going a little bit higher than that.
You know what? I'll throw it to the whole group. How about, does anyone prefer Waddle at his ADP? So Waddle's going as currently wide receiver 44, 106th overall, compared to 34th overall, wide receiver 12 for Lamb. Would you rather take Lamb at ADP or take Waddle ADP? Considering again that these are much different players, is anyone saying, I think Waddle is going to pay off his price better? Is anyone going to say that for us?
I mean, he could, but he might not. I don't. There's a chance he's not fantasy like super relevant this year. I feel like so.
That's the 9th round. That's a couple rounds too early.
I mean, and even if he pays off a 9th round pick, it's, you know, and CeeDee doesn't pay off his wide receiver 12. But if he's you know, top end wide receiver 2, I'd rather have taken that guy and reached than take Waddle and completely
he's not going to burn. I think Waddle could burn you. CD's not. Right. He's going to produce.
Waddle could be, if he's wide receiver 42, he can outperform it and be wide receiver 33. Great. He's still like a low end wide receiver 3, and you're not that excited. So.
Yeah, and there's a few interesting names going right around Waller currently. So you have Michael Pittman Jr., Michael Gallup, Marquise Brown. These are all players that I think in a certain situation you're going to be really looking for. Can they break into wide receiver 2 sort of numbers? And Lamb is going to be, can he disappoint to being now as a wide receiver 1, right? So with them being really talked about as with Lamb, are you really judging him against the other big dogs of the league? Or do you want to take, and it's really a question of, are you valuing this player so much of where they're going that you're saying, yeah, I like Lamb's ADP. I'm going to be real in on him. And Lamb at wide receiver 12, I think is a mistake because I think Amari Cooper
kind of high.
Yeah, I think Cooper is getting a little bit dinked because of his missing of practice for the, the camp pup. He's off that. He's back. I think people need to start reconsidering how good this team was with Cooper for the first part of the year. Lamb could be excellent as well. I think it's really just like you're really picking your shot. So does anyone here have Lamb as a wide receiver 1? Like top 12 wide receiver 1?
No, I have literally number 13. And then I have Cooper just slightly a few spots down.
Because Cooper I do. Because Michael Thomas has dropped out. Because, with him moving, to yesteryear. We'll probably have to talk about him in a little bit. But Shane shaking head. You don't have Cooper. It doesn't seem like you have Lamb as a wide receiver 1.
Oh, I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. I was shaking my head at Michael Thomas.
Yeah, that whole situation is a completely different story.
But
I mean, oh, go ahead, Jen.
I would take Waddle at his ADP, possibly over Lamb at his ADP, because I'm a big running back guy. So I think the running backs that you could get as an opportunity cost at CeeDee Lamb's price versus what you can get at Waddle's price, you're getting a hell of a lot better player at Lamb's ADP than you are at Waddle's ADP. And that's what the way that I would like to build my team is rather go with someone who's got a better shot at being an RB1 or RB2 versus someone who I can get as a later round flyer, or like JB Chono said, a wide receiver 3, and has that. I think he's got that upside. So Chris, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm about to rip you apart. You're sleeping on Tua. I don't know how high you guys are on Tua on this panel, but you're sleeping on Tua. And here's why. And I've been saying this probably for a week. If you watch Spotathon, I think I said it. Been saying it on different podcasts. You're sleeping on Tua because he is on year 2 being removed from his hip injury. The same type of hip injury that ended, and I've said this at least 3 times this week, Bo Jackson's career. So I will admit, yes, I'm an Auburn fan. I'm slightly biased, but anything that you hear about Bo Jackson is he's one of the greatest athletes that ever played sports. He played 2 professional sports and was damn good at both of them. He had the same type of injury that Tua had, and it ended his career. Now, obviously, that shows a nod to modern medicine, but it's still a severe injury. And now Tua has another year removed from that. He was also in a COVID year for his rookie year. So I think those 2 factors, as well as they've moved to co-offensive coordinators away from Chan Gailey. Chan Gailey was awful for Tua. And I just feel like people forget how good Tua was. This kid came in as a freshman in the second half of the national championship game and won the game because he was that much better than Jalen Hurts, who people are super high on this year. So, and because I'm an Auburn fan, I've watched both a lot. They're both really fucking good, but Tua's better. Okay?
And
so, that's my spiel.
I don't hate Tua. I don't think he's gonna be the worst quarterback in the world. I don't see him being a quarterback 1, but I do have him like a mid-range quarterback 2. So, but they did good for him. They gave him weapons. So it's very crowded there.
Well,
so
that's another point too, Chris, is these are the best weapons he's had since he's been at Alabama.
Right. Very
because
fair.
Last year he was throwing to Devontae Parker. He only had Preston Williams for a few games. I'm super high on Preston Williams. But then he had Gesicki. Other than that, he was throwing to Jakeem Grant, Isaiah Ford.
Albert Wilson was there, I think.
Lynn Bowden.
Lynn Bowden Jr.
Matt Collins.
Maybe
Matt
Tua
Collins
and
won us a
Waddle
game last year.
And Adam Shaheen.
Maybe Tua and Waddle can build some chemistry faster than
They
most duos too. They have some familiarity.
Good play.
Yeah. And I'm a Jets fan, so I am anti Tua doing well because I can't have another quarterback in this damn division that's going to ruin my life for the next 15 years.
And I think I'm about to take Tua in a draft right now at the 12th spot in the 8th round.
Yeah, I think it was a good point.
It's a super flex league, just so you know.
How you build your team was a good point, though, to go back to that. Like, if you stack running back at the beginning, Waddle is in the tier of receivers that you will look at that point in the draft.
Yeah.
Where it would be the opposite. Like, if you're taking CD up front, now you're looking at the mid-tier running back. So I think, unless you're going more balanced approach there, I see those drafts happen all the time. You stack 2 to 3 running backs at the beginning. You're looking at Waddle with Marquise Brown and Gallup and those guys, and that's the tier you're picking from. And compared to those guys, I might take a stab at Waddle because I'm not a big Brown guy, and Gallup's upside there, and Waddle's probably got it. So
another thing with Lamb, guys, with Cooper out right now, and all the hype that the Cowboys always get, and Lamb is, blowing it up in training camp. Do you think that his ADP's done? Do you think it still has the chance to rise, right?
They're on Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
That's what I mean. So by the time we get in the heat of draft season, Lamb could be too rich.
They already showed the one hand catch, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the mojo moment, man. Come on.
Yeah. When we're in the heat of draft season, Lamb could be too rich for my blood.
I mean, if anything's relevant nowadays, it's Austin Powers references.
Of course.
Bring them back. Bring all of those references back. I'm ready for it.
But it's going to take a lot for me not to want to draft Lamb.
The other thing for Miami,
Evan, I couldn't tell.
I'd say for Miami receivers in general, the highest ones being drafted, Will Fuller as a wide receiver 4. And one of Tua's receivers should hit.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, Teddy Bridgewater supported 3 wide receivers above wide receiver 30. I get it. Samuel had a lot of rushes. I think he even had a couple rushing touchdowns. But nonetheless, if Teddy Bridgewater can support 3 wide receivers above 30, Tua should be able to support, at least one.
One.
So
just no one knows which one it is.
I'm scared about Tua. Yeah, but throw your dart, and then it could have a ton of upside.
Yeah, Chris, you like Fuller. Why do you like Payne so much?
I'm a Jets fan. My whole life, for sports, I've just been dealing with Payne. And last year, I had Will Fuller as like a wide receiver 1.
He's so good. Oh, PD.
Oh, PD. Oh, he's hurt.
About Will Fuller?
Huh?
Y'all want to hear my joke about Will Fuller?
No.
The Dolphins paid him for the 8 games he's going to play this year.
Oh, I hope he's still taking PEDs.
Whoa.
I think it might have ruined him, actually. That's the problem, is that with him being injury, issue every single year, and maybe how's the drugs affect him and all that sort of stuff. It is the point. This is the best offense that, Miami's technically fielded in a little while. And I think Myles Gaskin being around is a good point to that as well. I do like this offense. The one thing I will say about the Carolina situation, he carried those receivers because they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. So it's one reason why 3 guys were so good.
But Gaskin's not McCaffrey.
Gaskin's not McCaffrey, but also this offense I don't think is going to be as play heavy as well. So they were around the same plays per game last year, but Miami, that defense was solid. They lose a little bit of their linebacker pieces because I know Van Noy left in the offseason. It depends if the corner, I think he's going to resign.
Xavier Howard did resign.
Yeah.
So that sticking around, it keeps that defense that was like almost a near
nasty.
Yeah, one of the best in the league, top 5 almost in like points allowed per game sort of deal. I don't know if Tua is fantasy relevant, but I do think he's going to make 1 or 2 of these receivers relevant, just on terms of a points basis. Will Fuller would be most likely of the 3. Devontae Parker, I mean, again, he was pretty much of a disappointment until he had that like year 5 breakout when they were just tossing him like 12 times a game.
Are you ready for this?
By all means.
Yeah, I'm going solo on this shit. Devontae Parker's breakout was not a breakout. Okay, statistically, yes, it may have been a breakout. But let's take a look at the fact that the only 2 healthy players on the team that had any talent whatsoever were Parker and Gesicki. Preston Williams had just torn his ACL. Jakeem Grant eventually ended up getting hurt. Their running backs were, I think, Patrick Laird, I want to say Jordan Howard, and I don't even remember who the hell else.
Salman Ahmed?
No, it was the year before.
No?
So Ahmed was a rookie last year. So Parker's breakout was literally due to the fact that they didn't have anybody else to throw to.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's not a breakout.
Exactly.
That was the joke.
Exactly. So my whole point is that, like, when you put talent around Parker, he is a mediocre wide receiver at best, and people are drafting him or were drafting him. I think his ADPs dropped some because of Fuller and Waddle, but they were drafting him last year like he was going to be a wide receiver 1.
Oh, he was an easy overdraft last year.
He had wide receiver 2. He was wide receiver 2 from like week 8 to week 17 in 2019. And I was like, no, y'all are all stupid, because it was literally a matter of circumstance of nobody else being there for them to throw the ball to. I absolutely cannot stand Devontae Parker. He's so overrated. His breakout wasn't real. I just want him to get traded so then Preston Williams can be the 3rd wide receiver on this team, as long as Preston Williams can stay healthy. Okay, let me end my solo layout so then we can continue.
I love that
I shouldn't write the article on 5th-year breakouts that I was going to write. I should scrap that.
I took your solo and grabbed 2 beers. I appreciate the solo.
I love that Shay went solo so we can all see that his microphone is really a magic 8-ball.
No, it's
I love
Death
Shane's the orb.
Who's the Dolphins' number 1 receiver?
Right, it's right in the microphone. I love it.
Unclear. None of the above.
I love that.
I'm looking through this list of players here, right? I want to pick out one I really want to talk about, right?
Hit me.
Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams.
Oh, I love you so much. Let's talk about this.
Okay, I almost want to start. Right?
Yeah, start.
I'm
And I'm
gonna
giving
go
you
ahead.
the layout.
Okay.
Oh, solo.
The Denver backfield, everyone is drafting incorrectly for some reason. Javonte Williams at the beginning of training camp, the beginning of mini camp, whenever that was, like 3 months ago, there was beat reports saying that it was Javonte Williams' backfield to own, and Gordon was going to go the way, and he might be traded, and yada yada yada. Right. So here we are in the second week of August. If I look at my clock on my computer, Melvin Gordon should be drafted as a near RB2. The problem with Williams taking over this backfield is twofold. One, Melvin Gordon was good. And two, Javonte Williams, technically, to my knowledge, did not even own a backfield of his own in college. So you take a player who wasn't used to commanding, because again, every backfield is going to share snaps. Having a snaps percentage over like 65% is technically a rare feat in the NFL.
Yes.
So if you have Williams, who has to be able to handle solo workload, come into a situation where, one, I don't know what his real reception outlook is going to be. Melvin Gordon was a very good player last year. I don't think that Williams should still be drafted because to ADP, and again, ADP, don't treat it as, law, right? Treat it as this is what the average person is going to go to into a draft. So at least in the general idea what people are thinking about on players. Javonte Williams being drafted as the running back 28, 69th overall. Nice. Melvin Gordon going right behind him at running back 30. Them being close is not correct for a player who we should come out of the gate saying that really Gordon should be the primary option. And I don't, in full PPR, think that's even smarter because with Etienne, the one thing you can really hang your hat on with him is receptions. I don't know how that backfield is going to go carry-wise, but to be honest, I don't particularly care if Etienne's going to get 10 carries a game for 35 yards or James Robinson's going to do the same or anything sort of that. Because the real thing that made James Robinson so good last year was he had like 90% of the running back touches. That's not something that should be happening year after year. So Travis Etienne in a full PPR sort of situation should not really be going within 12 picks. Javonte Williams, 14 picks. It's the same basically round for the two. Travis Etienne, full PPR, has the upside because we just saw a player with 1,100 total yards have a season was a top 12 finish in Mike Davis, who no one wants to like, but receptions matter that so much. David Montgomery, everyone still wants to think, why is he so low this year? Well, it's because he was the fourth in receptions last year at 55 for Chicago, and they added Damon Williams and Terry Cohen is back. These are the sort of things you need to look on in full PPR. Do not keep drafting Javonte Williams as he is right now. It's a mistake. If he takes over the backfield in week 10, I still don't think he's going to have such a dramatic workload that's going to make him really a rookie standout. When Etienne, if he has 5 receptions in the game and add on whatever he will on the ground, that matters. Solo end. Thank you.
First off, Matt, I could listen to you talk for I don't know how long. Like it's just it's soothing but educational at the same time. I'm just like, give me more. Like that Kylo Ren gif of more. Yeah, that's what's going on in my head when I hear you talk.
I appreciate you sound like real quick. You sound really like Buddy over G-Man Jay. You sound like Jay quite a bit. I don't know if anyone knows of our good friend.
One of my best friends. That's funny.
You sound just like him. I was like, wow. It's like you got some of the guys over here,
G-Man Jay at home.
Yeah, it's
and that's funny because G-Man J is actually at the Expo.
I know, I saw.
You've got real Expo G-Man J and G-Man
but
J.
But I open it up. Let's make it real quick. If you prefer Javonte Williams, raise up your right hand. If you prefer Travis Etienne, we'll raise up our left hand, and we'll pick some people out.
Left.
So Etienne's left. So we're all on Etienne.
Wow, we're all.
Thank
on
you.
Etienne. Okay,
for
I
redraft,
love
I feel
that.
like
Do you want me to argue Javonte then?
I would love that.
Let's hear it. And I'm going to put you solo too.
Oh no, I'm not ready for my close-up. So yeah, I prefer Etienne like everyone else, but I think it's because he's got a bigger role from day one. They even went up and traded for him. They said that they wanted him to play out wide. He went back to school when he didn't need to. He probably could have been a first-round pick the year before anyways, or early second. He went back to school to work on blocking and receiving. So that's why we're so excited for him. The thing about Javonte, he's definitely a little bit of a reach right now, but that second half is when you win your fantasy league. So if he takes over that backfield, which he likely will in that second half, he can be a league winner. Boom.
The schedule is good. I will also say that for him. In the last 8 teams they have to play, Chiefs, Lions, Bengals, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. Seeing the Chargers twice, let's see how that looks like this year. Their defense was decimated last year.
Derwin stays
ways.
healthy, and that's a scary defense.
But otherwise, not really too much. Yeah, not too much tough really on that schedule. Again, the real issue, I'm going to look up exactly how many rushing yards Melvin Gordon had.
I have it.
He was
so the Javonte
he was only
Michael
good when
Carter
Lindsey
thing is
was
scary.
out, though. Like, I looked up the carries and touches for Melvin Gordon and Lindsey last year. When Lindsey was in, it was like 10 touches for Lindsey and 14 total if you count receptions for Gordon. So for me, if like Javonte, I think is better than Philip Lindsay. I think we can agree on that, right? He's a better receiver. He's better in the receiving game. Philip Lindsay, that's not his jam. He not a good pass catcher. Javonte would be whether like the rookie learning curves too much, and I haven't heard anything like that. He's picking up pass protection so far. I think he can be involved in the passing game, and I think he'll be involved enough in the rushes where it's at least close to that split last year. So for me, it would be like maybe I still wouldn't have Melvin Gordon that high. I think it would be a stay away at that point for me.
I think
from the
I think you're
backfield.
downgrading the receptions because last year was his low in both targets and receptions. I think Lindsey plays into that, and also the crowded sort of nature of that backfield. So I always cop to you on that one. Maybe we don't prefer Melvin Gordon as much as we have to in the past because he was a dual purpose back. So if he can really come around and really push for more of that receiving work, which we really can't determine how comfortable that's all going to be with, a very crowded Denver team. Why we keep talking about Denver?
There's a lot of Denver on here.
We can move on.
So, yeah,
I mean, Shane does have
to
4 favorite
earlier.
teams or something like that. So maybe Denver's
3.
Three
Thank
favorites.
you for not saying 32.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Jay,
let's
real
talk
quick.
about somebody not on Denver. Okay, this one will be fun. This one will be real fun. Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
And this is redraft.
Redraft.
Okay.
Chris.
Because again,
Yeah.
you can't draft a backup quarterback. You just can't do it for redraft out of the gate. So no matter what you like about, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, insert here. Technically, again, Rose is red,
on,
Violet's
Matt.
blue, and Gardner
my answer's
Minshew.
Lawrence.
I thought
Someone's gonna
Minshew
answer
was-
Fields.
Come on, Matt. They're in a quarterback battle. So how do we know that Lawrence
That
is
had
starting?
Jake Luden on that depth chart. That was very.
I think
a
Fields is
very
starting
wrong
by
depth
week
chart.
2.
You think who Fields by week 2?
Yeah, I mean,
We
I
got to
think
play the
they're
Rams
gonna
week
get
1. So
they're gonna
that makes
let
sense.
Dalton get crushed. Let him look
Aaron
ugly.
Donald
2
and kills
picks,
him,
2
yeah.
fumbles. Ramsey takes one back, and then Fields is the hero. So to argue, and maybe someone else should argue the one that no one wants to argue, but to argue Fields, I'd say last year I was able to pick up Herbert and take care of my Dak injuries and some other leagues where I picked quarterbacks late. I don't know if we're gonna get to do that this year. Fields and Lance are both getting drafted. I think in some leagues, Wilson's getting drafted. You might be able to pick up Wilson. I think Fields and Lance have more upside. So I don't know that you're going to be able to get your Herbert this year. And there might not be a Herbert, to be fair.
that's the thing, right?
That's let me back up there. There might not be a Herbert, but if there is, that player with upside, I think it's Fields. I would, straight up, I would draft Trevor. I'm not chasing the rookies.
Yeah, I wanna
but
snag
if
that
there's
real
an
quick
argument
for
to
you.
be made, yeah, go ahead.
So the big problem with Herbert last year is that we didn't know Herbert was going to be so good because we had Tyrod Taylor get stabbed by a doctor. So let's all take a moment right there, right? Because he was stabbed by a doctor.
The Chargers didn't
Great
even know
point.
they had Herbert.
Exactly.
Thank you,
That's the
doctor.
point.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Right down here, bottom
And
right, Chris Mashinsky.
I watched Herbert in college. Outside of that bowl game, I wasn't super impressed by him. So
I
I was
wasn't
like
either.
blown away. There's Dolphin fans that say that they wanted Herbert. I don't believe it. I wanted Tua the whole time. I wanted us to tank for Tua. We were
It was
blessed.
tank for 2 of the
We
whole
were
time.
blessed when Tua fell. So yeah.
because Herbert came out of nowhere, and you got him just off the waiver wire, and no one was talking about it. Lance and Fields are getting drafted in like one QB leagues, right?
Yeah.
So here's the issue.
Even ahead of Wilson, who has the sure starting job.
Also, yeah, again,
it's your QB2. If they're your QB2, they're the safe upside play, like because you don't need a QB2.
What if you take? What if you're taking, a back end QB1 and you take Fields?
Well, that would be scary. But if you have like Rodgers, like whatever, take Trey Lance.
Why are you taking a second one? If you have
I don't even take one usually. So
Hold up,
if you were, take a
jump in.
So like, let's say,
Hold on.
go.
I'm gonna interrupt real quick because I think Brett, you just said this. It might have. I think it was Brett. If you want to talk about someone who's potentially a Herbert, it's Zach Wilson. Because he's got the same draft capital, actually better draft capital. He's being slept on because he's going to the Jets offense. But if you look at their draft, they built up the offensive line. They added weapons for him in Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Michael Carter. They've still got Ty Johnson and LaMichael Pirine. So that running back committee will, I agree, but we don't really know what those guys are just because of where they've been.
Yeah.
So there's potential that Zach Wilson could really kind of surprise people, but they're like, nah, he's in New York, he's with the Jets. Like
that's one of my best ball. That's one of my best ball stacks.
The AFC East might be really good soon.
Absolutely. So I think Wilson, because of the similar draft capital, and the weapons that they've got, could be a sneaky play for you, and one QB is a later grab.
Yeah. No Keenan Allen there though. Keenan Allen's like that's a difference maker
because
he's not really a guy like
and
that.
Eckler,
Jets, and Eckler too. But like Herbert, we should probably. It's not fair probably to throw that. Like they probably won't. It doesn't have to be a
Herbert. There will be no Herbert.
It doesn't have to be a Herbert.
It doesn't have to be a Robert Tonyan or a Logan Thomas. Like
exactly,
it's fun to talk about, but
it's Jonah. If there is one, it's Jonah. No.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely definitely him. Well, that's
read my article at
So I mean, and you talk about the Jets' weapons. People are sleeping on Corey Davis.
They're sleeping on the whole team because I think it's.
They're not sleeping on Elijah Moore. No one's sleeping on Elijah Moore anymore.
Not anymore.
It's quality enough to be competitive, and I think that's important for a quarterback that's being so highly touted. Because the Jaguars do have a very good receiving core. Things can be very frustrating on a weekly basis for them. But I do want to circle back to Fields, right? Because if Trey Lance was announced a quarterback today, top 12 for me. He's locked in.
He's a number one rookie quarterback.
Love that offense. Chicago, I do like the weapons, but this schedule is very unfriendly for how it might go for Fields. So week 1 against the Rams, Dalton's going to go get destroyed in LA. Congratulations, right? So let's say he takes over week 2, which I think is very unlikely. Bengals, Browns, and the Lions are the next 3 opponents. Cool. I think he can possibly be competitive in 2 of those games. The Browns are a very good team. They might be one of the best overall packages on both sides of the ball. Congrats to Cleveland for you. Then you have a murderer's row coming up in the next 6 teams. The Raiders, who are conveniently 8-8 team, but I think there's enough there to stay competitive because at least through the first half of the year they show up. Passing game wise though, Packers, Bucks, Niners, Steelers, Ravens. He will lose confidence if he goes and starts in those games. If you want him to go out there, you either want it to kind of happen after that point, or you kind of want it to happen in week 2 almost immediately, which I think is not going to happen. If he takes over in the mid-weeks, Justin Fields, I love him as a quarterback too. I thought that was the pick of the draft, for the NFL draft, right? But that string of defenses will make any QB sweat. Packers were just so good in the secondary. They were not allowing like completely anything on the ground that you would want any sort of which way. The Bucks, cool. That entire team just came back. Congratulations on that pass rush.
Literally the entire freaking team.
The 49ers were a top 10 in multiple categories in fantasy points allowed with literally half the defense missing after like week 2. Steelers and Ravens, cool. I know they lose a little bit, the Steelers, because I believe Bud Dupree went to Tennessee, I believe. Not an IDP guy. I have no real super confidence in that. And then, Baltimore. Okay, cool. None of that is fun at all for Justin Fields. And I think defenses will change at that point. You can't say it's going to be exactly what it is based off of week 1. But does that scare you for anyone who likes Justin Fields and is going to be taking him as because again, he's going as a cute, like people are picking him up. They're picking up Trey Lance. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start a hell of more games than people think. But does that kind of scare you if you were thinking about taking Trey Lance in a 1 QB league? To anyone?
Fields, you mean?
Yes, Fields. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Hey, like you said, people are drafting these guys like they're all going to be the next Herberts, like, you know. So the only way I'm taking guys like that is like a super flex league. But again, they got to be like my third quarterback, and I'm just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So
the top 12 is deep enough that I don't care if they're on your roster. I think there's just there's a good like 12, 10, 12 quarterbacks. I think you're okay.
They're solid guys.
Matt Stafford's fine. You can rock him this year, and like if you had I don't know.
Yeah, Fields is going as the QB19,
and he might be going too early for a QB2 in a 12-man.
He might, yeah. That's the thing.
11th round for a QB2.
I'm not doing that if I
ADP.
take one or I wait on I generally wait on quarterback anyway. So like I'm probably not taking one in the 11th now. So
yeah, if I'm taking two QBs, I think I'd rather take 2 starters with crazy upside so I can figure out,
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you could take Tua to Shane's point. Baker Mayfield. Tua.
I gamble on them in best ball and tournaments. I might gamble because I want to just take the shot at something wild.
They might be too early, but I'm thinking Hurts Burrow would be my 2 that I'd pair for upside. I don't know.
I like that. If Burrow can get over these yips that I'm hearing about, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, you don't want a quarterback playing scared because if he's worried to injure himself in practice when they're literally told not to touch you, I don't really like how that can be in a real, NFL standpoint. He did run a little bit last year. There was a few times where the pocket collapses and he just kind of scrambles in for a score. Cool, we like that. If he loses any rushing upside, offensive line play is still a worry. Cool, they went out and got Chase. I love that. I think people are really sleeping on Tyler Boyd because if he's going to play underneath for a quarterback,
should have drafted an offensive lineman.
How does Chase block?
So mad about that.
Does Chase not?
You know what's the funniest thing as a Dolphins fan is the Bengals and the Dolphins fans on Twitter going at each other about who should have drafted an offensive lineman. So if you ever have a few hours and you want,
oh man,
but
they killed it. They got killed last year.
I personally think the Dolphins messed up when they traded from 3 to 6 because they thought that either the Falcons were going to take a quarterback or the Bengals were going to take a lineman, and then they came out and said, "Well, Waddle was our wide receiver 1." I don't believe it. I think they thought they were getting Pitts or Chase. I hope it comes out one day. I'll feel vindicated. It probably won't. Yeah, it probably won't.
Love it.
But Mr. Host, I see you have some selections for us. What would you like to talk about next?
So let's talk first about these 2 young tight ends that are going into their second year, Mr. Cole Kmet and Mr. Adam Troutman, both of which who I think have a potential to break out as tight ends this year. So who wants to go first?
Can I go first because I don't like this one? I'm good at that.
Get it over with.
All right.
Equal sign.
Quick and easy. I'm picking Adam Troutman because Jimmy Graham's still on the Bears. Boom. Next.
Okay.
I love it.
Jay, you go next.
I like that answer. I think there's more opportunity, I guess, with Troutman right now. That team's kind of a mess without Michael Thomas, who's going to step up. I think I like both. They're really close. This is a tier of tight ends that I
have them really close too. I don't hate them, but I don't love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Troutman too on that one. If you care about my input on this one here, but again, they are
Christopher.
They are very. No, I'm saying it's all the same. A lot of it's the same. They are very close for me too, and like Jay said, it's like the tier of all the tight ends are like a point apart for the whole season. But I mean, we don't know who the quarterback is in New Orleans, but they're gonna throw the ball to somebody, and it's got to be Adam Troutman. Yeah, I mean, we said before a little bit about Mooney. I like Mooney a lot this year for over 100 targets. Obviously, Allen Robinson, Tariq Cohen is back to Matt's point earlier. He's going to be taking a lot of the targets. So Cole Kmet and Graham is there. So there's just way too many mouths to feed over there in Chicago. And Troutman for sure.
All right, Matt. You next.
I'd like to hear what Evan wants to say first. I have so much information to say about this.
Okay, let's go Evan then.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Troutman for me. I mean, like Chris said, I mean, the same stuff. Especially with the Michael Thomas injury. I mean, Troutman has, especially his ADP, he has the chance to, I mean, there's a chance he ends up as a top 10 tight end. I don't think that happens if Taysom Hill's the quarterback. I know everyone's hoping that Jameis is the quarterback for that sake. But I mean, he's gonna eat in that offense with the Michael Thomas injury for sure.
All right, Matt, hit it.
Matt's so excited.
Are we going to
Well,
zoom in
Matt.
on Matt again? Let's go.
No,
back
first I
to
have to say,
Let's just say
Shane,
Brett hated this topic at the front, so we're supposed
Shane,
to go
there's a
past this one.
there's a
That's what I thought.
private
We're going through
message.
this.
What did we do here? Okay, so a few things. One, let's start us off. So, right, both tight ends go into their second year. I want to hear from the people. How many tight ends in their rookie season back to 1990 did you think hit the threshold of 600 receiving yards? How many players? I just want to hear some. You just throw out some numbers.
4.
Let me put
Can the
four.
panel?
Four.
You want the panel? 2.
Yeah, go back to the panel. Just where we get just real quick. Zoom out.
How many
Boom.
years?
2.
2.
Since
We got
1990. I'm gonna
3,
say
4.
2.
Yeah, I was going 4.
Cool.
I'm going none.
Like Engram, and I can't guess the second one.
5.
Oh,
So
Ingram,
5
yeah.
tight ends in their rookie season hit 600 receiving yards. How many hit?
600.
How many do you think hit 70 targets?
2.
Yeah, that's down 0 or 1.
0.
10.
Damn, really?
Wow.
They
How
just
many do you
can't
think
catch
hit
that shit.
40 receptions?
15.
The same
So going
5.
up.
21.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say
wow.
it's going up. It's definitely going up. But
How many hit 5 touchdowns? This is also about Kyle Pitts, but that's that's a whole Pandora's
We're gonna
box,
end up in Atlanta after all this.
right? So
5 touchdowns. I'm going to go back
33.
I'm going to stick at 15, actually.
we got 15, 33,
10.
10.
I've been so wrong. I'm not answering. Tight
Okay.
ends is not my subject.
14. So 14 hit those thresholds. We had 600 hit 5 players, 70 targets 10, 40 receptions 21, 5 touchdowns 14. It's rookie season. Now we move over to their second season. How many in their second season hit 600 receiving yards? First we had 5. How many hit 600 in their second season?
That has to
Well,
go.
1990. So guys, remember 1990 is 30 years ago now.
Thanks for reminding me. No one's
That has
always
to
not
go.
gonna lie,
born.
right?
I was not
13.
born.
I'm gonna go with like 13.
I was not either.
I was
Screw
1.
you guys.
I think it's me and Jay only, right?
My
Jay-
youngest
one.
brother was born that
So
year.
I'm going with 25.
25,
I was going 12.
12.
I went
Yeah,
12.
13.
What was
I
the
said
original
13.
number? 5?
5. So 5
Five.
Yeah,
times that.
15.
27. So we went from 5 to 27.
I
hit
won.
600 receiving yards.
That's not
Target.
good, guys.
No, this is getting better. This is
I know.
no, this
It's
is,
getting
Yeah.
much
I know,
better.
but that's a lot of tight ends.
Both
So
of these tight
I
ends we're
have to
talking
think
about are
that
second year.
so
I
here's
have to
that's the
think
thing.
from 5 to 27 is better
Yes.
than any other position booming in their second year. And
So
a lot of positions boom in their second year.
targets. 10 players hit 70 in their rookie season. How many since 1990 hit 70 targets in their second season?
70.
22.
Yeah, like 50 or something.
100.
Probably double 50.
46. So we went from
Yeah.
10 to
Okay.
46. How many hit 40 receptions? We had 21 in their rookie season.
80.
40 again.
35.
56.
65. Yeah, I was gonna 65.
I'm
And
way
then-
over on all these.
And then touchdowns. We had 14 in their rookie year hit 5. How many tight ends in their second season hit 5 touchdowns?
36.
27.
28.
Right, no, we got to stop. We
27.
got boom,
Price is
30.
right rules.
ding, ding,
Price is
boom.
right rules.
I got
Both
2 of these.
showcases. Yes.
Yeah.
I got
So
the
there's-
25 and the 36.
There is a statistical jump for tight ends into their second year. Offensive coordinators get more comfortable with them. Tight ends get more comfortable in the league, whether it's blocking, whether they start to develop as receiving options and not just, they kind of get the little bit of the comfortability. They break out, boom. But those are easy thresholds to hit, and you have a real big jump. Evan, you go.
How about with a quarterback change?
I don't have that information.
Why not?
That was really good data, and you just had to
Because
drop it.
there's some
Great
You had to
data.
make it harder for him.
Because there's records
No,
here
because
from
I know
those
Matt's
guys.
gonna go look it up now. He's gonna come back and I got
Yeah.
you.
But like
next pod, he'll be,
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
he'll be ready.
Tomorrow.
Look, I got
Like
you, bro.
drafts one of these guys.
it's like Jeremy Shockey set all the rookie records basically besides
Yes!
Gronkowski for
Okay.
God,
touchdowns.
I love Jeremy
Shockey was like
Shockey.
894, 120, and
There you go.
74, and Gronkowski had 10 touchdowns. But in the second year, Kittle hit 1,300 yards. Graham had 149 targets, 99 receptions, 17 touchdowns for Gronk. There is a real jump in players at this position. So you have 2 players here in Kmet and Troutman, right? So Troutman, do you guys like drafting Logan Thomas? Where would you have Logan Thomas ranked?
I don't like drafting Logan Thomas.
Okay,
Probably
he doesn't
right
like.
next to
Go
Troutman,
Jeremy. Go
actually.
Jeremy Shockey.
I actually am a little intrigued by Thomas this year.
Okay, if
with
you like
Scrappy.
Logan Thomas, you should draft Adam Troutman because he is the 2021 version of Logan Thomas.
Is he a converted quarterback?
And he's,
No.
but he's not 30 either.
Washington
He's a little
was
younger.
desperate for offensive production last year. They were using J.D. McKissick a ton. They were using as anyone they can get out there
They
to
had
literally
to run the offense through McKissick and Thomas.
Yeah,
They
because they had
drafted
quarterbacks that could
Yeah.
throw 6 yards down the field.
and
pretty much.
added free agents to not do that this year.
100%. Washington is a completely different team.
Yes.
Historically, we've seen that we don't. Fitzpatrick does not like his tight ends. Gesicki last year, 2 of his best 3 games came with Tua under center.
Tua,
He was not used by. And then when OJ Howard, remember him? Well, I believe at one point was Fitzpatrick or was it Winston? I think Fitzpatrick had him for 1 year with OJ Howard. And we never saw the breakout in there. Now we go into Adam Troutman. We have an offense that has been able to use their tight ends effectively. We've seen this go with Jared Cook, who just departed the team. It sounds like he died. That's not what I meant at all. But short yardage passing can really make this team really take another step up, and they need production. The receiving core, I know everyone's kind of taking their like Traquan Smith. Is going to break out in like his 4th year. It's never happened really. Marquez Callaway, who only played like 30 snaps or more in games where we had 1 or 2 receivers missing last year. He was not at all a priority for that team. So now in 2021, Adam Troutman, we see a rookie tight end jump. We now see him move up to a spot where he could be second garner in targets outside of Alvin Kamara, especially. And we don't know when Michael Thomas is going to be coming back. A very optimistic look for that is week 7, right after the bye in week 6 on Monday Night Football in Seattle. There's not a lot really holding Adam Troutman back from being a guy that was like Logan Thomas last year, where they need to be able to push the ball downfield and be able to do things. No matter which quarterback it is, I think it's actually better if Taysom Hill, technically, for Adam Troutman in terms of what Hill can actually do. Because Winston, I think, can move the ball downfield. I think he has the arm strength to do that. We saw that in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans and Godwin, their yards per target numbers were really good that year because they were just chucking downfield every other play. But Adam Troutman, especially here for me, next players.
I'm actually going with Komet here. That's why I sent what I did in the chat.
All right, move it on.
I like both of these guys, those especially at their ADP. But Cole Komet, like y'all are all worrying about Jeremy Graham. Jimmy Graham's old as dirt. Like
I'm not. I'm personally not.
I'm not worried about
I'm not worried
I
about
mentioned
him.
Jimmy Graham.
or
But-
traded.
The Bears don't throw enough to tight ends.
Yes,
to
but
still
they've got a
have
rookie
Jimmy
rookie
there.
quarterback.
They
Rookie
got
quarterback's
Allen
one of their tight
Robinson.
ends.
And
They got the
moving
outlaw,
into-
Jesse
yeah.
James. Bang, bang. Come on.
Oh, no.
Bang bang. But no, I'm going Komet here. Again, this is similar to the first
This is
question with
So close.
Sutton and Claypool.
Also, you guys forget Jimmy Graham is a Cane, so
So, are you guys in
I
most
have to believe in
redrafts?
him.
Are you going with one of the great or late? Are you great or late? Do you go with one of the great tight ends early, or do you like
I was
to
going to bring
wait?
that up.
I take
So
Johnny
that's
late. That's what I do.
Before you guys answer this question, I'm actually going to bring up our next 2, and we'll continue the tight end
Oh,
question.
this is good
And
for
we'll
that.
go,
Yeah.
we'll go quickly. TJ Hawkinson or Mark Andrews? Chris, you go first.
Ooh, I'm still going to Kane to me first because I have a lot of loves in the NFL. So, but Hawkinson is one of them. Hawkinson is my tight end 3 this year, where Andrews is 6. I actually have Hawkinson over Kittle, so I mean, fine, whatever. People can hate me on that. I don't care. But again, I'm all about volume, opportunity, and lack of other options in Detroit. So the team is going to be awful. Maybe they'll get a little bit better eventually, but I think they're on the right direction, the right path.
Their
but-
offensive line's great.
Yeah, they're on their way to getting better. They did get Jared Goff, so I don't know what that tells you, but Jared Goff can throw the tight end. He's done it before. He made Higbee look like a goddamn star back a couple of years ago in 2019. So I do think that Hawkinson is going to be like the number one, receiver, tight end, whatever you want to call it, pass catcher in that offense. So I am big on that. And then with Baltimore, though, with Mark Andrews, I do like Mark Andrews, obviously. I'm a big Rashad Bateman guy. I hope he comes back, sometime in September and he's healthy, ready to go. But I really think they have an opportunity to have him be a legitimate weapon there because, Hollywood Brown has not been that for Baltimore. So just on volume alone and opportunity on a team that's going to have to throw the ball more so, Hawkinson for me.
Cool. Jay, quickly, Andrews or Hawk?
I'm still Andrews. The Rashad Bateman situation helps, but he gets volume too. I mean, this guy's had almost 100 targets at 98 2 years ago. I had the same targets per game rate last year as Hawkinson. Hawkinson had a lot of targets last year, but I don't know. I think he's still the guy on that team. You could score touchdowns. That Detroit team is going to have to throw to the running backs. They're going to run the ball a ton. I know they'll get down in games maybe, but I still think Andrews can be the prime target. The same thing we're talking about with Hawkinson, that could still happen with Andrews, and we've seen it before with Andrews, where Hawkinson hasn't put together the prime year yet. He could do it this year, but they're neck and neck in my rankings. But I go Andrews.
This is the year.
Maybe.
Evan, Hawk or Andrews?
For me, it's hard. It goes hand in hand. I mean, I could go with either one. I'm not mad if I get either one. Hawkinson, I think, is easily going to outplay Andrews when it comes to targets, just because, I mean, the offense is terrible. They're going to have to throw a ton. Goff really has no other options other than Hawkinson.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, and he's looking great.
Swift,
but
Swift.
I still think
Swift.
Hawkinson's going to get – I mean, he had 105 targets last year, I think it was. Andrews is probably going to, outpace him in the touchdown department, just because that offense is going to see the red zone a hell of a lot more than the Lions are. The Ravens will. So I guess for now, I'm going Andrews, and he's also, stepping into tight end prime years, per se. So Andrews is my pick right now, just because I'm just down on Goff.
All right, so
but I do like
1
Hawkinson.
Vote Hawk, 2 votes Andrews. Dad bod Brett. Hawk or Andrews?
Yeah, another vote for Hawkinson.
Okay,
So
2-2.
So these guys had, roughly 6 targets each last year. Baltimore added Sammy Watkins, Tylan Wallace, Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman could miss half the year. They still added 2.5 guys. And obviously they want to pass more. But how can you not expect Hawkinson to get more targets when the team got significantly worse? Lost Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. And now they have a guy, Jared Goff, who likes to target the slot and does not have the arm that Matthew Stafford had. So, yeah, obviously, for me, it's Hawkinson. I have Hawkinson 4, and I have Andrews 6, which, who does that mean I have in the middle?
Pitts.
Yeah.
No problem.
So I think with Bateman getting injured, Andrews will be, the 3 of them I have really close, but I've got Hawkinson by a little bit over Andrews. I just think there's a lot of positives in Hawkinson's world.
All right,
Boom.
Matt.
Go, Matt.
Quickly, Hawk or Andrews?
Andrews, but it's not about, it's about quality of targets as well. It's about quality of offense. So I don't want to make this a Hawkinson or Andrews thing. I actually want to make this a tight end position thing.
So let me give my answer real quick. I'm Hawk, so we're split 3-3.
Okay.
But again, it's
close.
Your pick of the litter
really
here.
close, yeah.
I really just like Hawk. I think he's primed for a third-year breakout because of the volume that he's going to see. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
Eric Johnson over at over at Going for Two would hate our Andrews answer, man. He is like a freaking Hawkinson truther through and through. He wrote an article. They did an article over at Going for Two. I would die on this hill for this player. Yeah, Hawkinson's his guy. So I just wanted to shout out Eric. Sorry, dude, but I think Andrews is the guy.
And Matt was going to ask a tight end question.
That's what I was about to go. Matt, ask your question.
I have one after Matt's question.
Yeah, perfect.
Last 2 seasons via ADP, right? I took the top 12 players selected in both the 2020 and 2019 drafts over, in the overall full PPR sort of standings, right? What do you think is the percentage of tight ends? It's 24. I mean, out of the 24, if you want to make it numbers instead, how do you think that were drafted as be top 12, finished top 12 out of the 24?
I'm probably thinking
50%.
like 33%. So probably like 8 of them.
So I got 33, which would be around like 8. We got 40, which would be around like 10. It's like same thing, number of percent.
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go 20%.
20%. Right.
You're saying, what are you saying? Like 4, 5?
Yeah, 25%. Yeah.
So 50% of the tight ends over the last 2 seasons who were drafted to be top 12 finished as top 12. But here's the real problem about that. Of those 24 players, how many finished at or better where you drafted them out of the 24?
Because it's so close, it's not
10%.
going to be. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot lower.
Yeah.
So,
Travis Kelsey
yeah.
Yeah.
Only
He's
one with number one.
10%.
That's
and
two.
maybe Darren Waller.
Waller.
No, Waller
Waller
finished way
last
up.
year, yeah, way
He
up.
went
last
up,
year.
but yeah. So he
Waller was
probably
last year,
didn't count,
you know, his ADP was tight end 5. He
So
finished
12
tight
have
end.
done it. 12 have done it, right? So I'll say 5.
So 9 of the 12 finished at or better where they were drafted.
Ooh.
But
Oh,
how
wow.
many finished at 15th or worst? How many actually busted as top 12 options?
Was out of 12.
Out of 24.
Well,
Yeah,
we know
24.
12 didn't
Oh,
bust.
so the rest.
So
So 11 finished
Yeah.
15th or worst.
right.
So if you're taking a literal coin flip with the top 12 of the tight end, how likely are you as a roster construction to actually go out and decide that you want to take tight end 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3? Because 1, 2, 3, you're making real decisions there. For ADP purposes, usually is Kelsey, who's currently a first round pick. He will be 32 in October. I'm just going to say that real quickly because no one's talking about him. Everyone likes to talk about age, and we don't talk about with Kelsey. The only
Carr
player
says that 30 is the new 20.
he's the only player over the age of 27 being taken in the first round. Just want to say that.
Mhm.
2, Darren Waller and George Kittle being taken around the 2, 3 turn, right? And then 4, 5, 6 or around picks 50, which would be, you know, in some combination, whatever it is, of Andrews, Pitts,
4th or 5th,
and
yeah.
Hawkinson. We just talked about how bad rookies have been. Just talking about that with Pitts, so don't want to get into that because
Pitts is a wide receiver. Move on.
Oh, I hate that conversation.
talking about the great or late discussion, right? I'm currently, if I'm taking let's talk about a 15 round draft, and let's say you still have to take a kicker and a tight end. Receiver, I'm currently trying to get rid of receiver earlier. I'll take 3 or 4 guys who are never going to move out of my starting roster because later on, I want to take guys who are going to possibly be waiver wire darlings. If it's going to be tight ends, because let's say your tight end bust, which we just saw as a 50-50 shot of doing so, basically. I'd like to have a bunch of these guys so I don't have to go spend waiver wire, fab money, or going to have to go into a race if I didn't have a good, because injuries are going to happen, busts are going to happen. Because we thought, maybe like Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper was going to be good last year. Well, we had guys get hurt. Hooper was a bust. Tyler Higbee was a total bust, and he was going to tight end 8. A lot of fun
Hey,
there.
Matt, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
Where's Robert Tonyan being drafted right now?
Robert Tonyan is going as the
And 10, something like
tight end 10, 96th overall.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
So in full PPR scoring, currently there are 10 tight ends being drafted with a top 100 pick, and I'll list them for you. We've got Travis Kelce in the first round at pick 7. So there's a real question of how many running backs do you want to take ahead of him? Because Devontae Adams currently is not going ahead of him. So that's really what your decision has to be made with them. I currently have as round pick 9 or 10. So take about as many running backs as I will. Waller and Kittle are around the tight end 2 turn. Andrews and Pitts are currently top 50 picks, and Hawkins going towards pick 60, pick 57 currently. Goddard, Fant, Thomas, Tonyan. 3 of those guys, I call them the wasteland. I have nothing to do with them whatsoever. Goddard, Fant,
and Thomas.
I want absolutely nothing to do with them, and I will actually be moving them down in my Goddard.
What if Ertz gets traded? Are you still down on Goddard?
But Ertz has not been traded, and it's August 15th, so I'm thinking that
Right.
August 13th.
that. He's not,
I kept him at this ranking because I thought Ertz was going to be traded. The longer Ertz stays there, the better pick Ertz is compared to Goddard, because we were talking about 2 years ago, it was a guy who caught like 100 plus balls or whatever in Ertz. I think people are so fine to say Kelsey is still going to produce as a tight end 1 like he has for the last 5 seasons after his career best at age 31 last year, when he's on average produced around 250 points in full PPR, went out and had a 300-plus season, and now he's going to be 32. Travis Kelce might not be the worst pick in 1, but he might be one of them, because I think, is he deserving of that pick? 100%. But he's had more sort of marks against him. I think people are talking up just because he's been so historically good. So Tonyan is also the other one going there. I think because Rodgers came back, so now he's skyrocketing again. It's deserved. The Green Bay Packers were the only team last year to have 3 skills players score over 10 touchdowns in Adams, Aaron Jones, and Robert Tonyan. Now, 3 of those or 4 of those came in one game against the Atlanta Falcons, but whatever. But
so here's my point. I don't think he was playing much before that too. So I'm a Packers fan. They're one of my 3 teams. The reason I like Tonyan is because Rodgers trusts him in the end zone, and you saw that towards the latter half of the season. So Tanya,
You want to talk about red zone? I got some stats for red zone for the Packers if you'd like it.
we don't have time
Well,
for that.
They've been the best.
I wanted
They've been
No
the
more
best red zone
stats.
team.
No more.
Best red zone team of the last 2 seasons have been the Green Bay Packers, and then they decided to kick a
Devontae
field goal in
Adams,
the playoffs. So
I just wanted to say, I mean, kind of like to go against what the math here of being a bust at tight end or whatever, and the whole drafting philosophy. So I think if you take the Kelsey, the Wallers, and for me, maybe Andrews, Hawkinson, they're fine. I think those guys are going to be like that 30% that's going to be in a bad or better.
Like the cutoff, right?
But if you're talking about tight end 9 to tight end 15 or 16 last year, it's literally 8 points for the whole season. So if you take him as tight end 9, you might as well wait. So if you take one of the elite guys in the top in the first, second, third round, great. If not, to Matt's point though, you're probably better off just waiting to get tight end 15, 16, 17 because they're probably going to be the same 5 rounds, 6 rounds later, than you would the other guys. So
that's what I've been doing.
So, Mr. Host, how many more players you got for us? We're going to be wrapping this bad boy up soon.
Lightning
We got
round, baby.
3 more on rapid fire. But to answer your question, because you asked earlier, great or late, I'll give you my targets at tight end. Okay, I'm either going Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, Pitts, Hawkinson, or Andrews, and I would honestly probably omit Kittle and Pitts because there's too much variance, too much unknown, too much injury probability with Kitts. Then I'm going late in Komet, Troutman, Gerald Everett, Jared Cook. We'll throw Jonnu in because I know you guys like Jonnu. And then and I'll throw Tanyan in there too, even though he's kind of in that middle wasteland. But I totally agree with you, Matt. I'm not touching Goddard, Fant, or Thomas. Just no. Too many mouths to feed. Too much inconsistency from the quarterbacks. Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, I think OJ Howard, with a late flyer pick. With a late flyer pick, why not?
Yeah, that's like last round you could take it.
Yeah, exactly. You can get him, and I mean, in that offense, if he can stay healthy, because talking about tight ends who are poised to have some serious regression is Gronkowski for sure. He
disappeared at the second half of the year. So after week 13, when the bye happened, he only had like 44 fantasy points for the rest of the season. Half that came in 1 week in like week 14 or 15. The rest came in the Super Bowl. He had like 3 points on average the rest of those games because Antonio Brown showed up.
He's going way too early.
So boom, rapid fire. Let's go.
Okay, rapid fire, and I'm gonna do a couple. We'll do 3 or 4 of these. Just give me the name that you want out of these 2, and I'm gonna go cross positional. So, first one is DK Metcalf or Nick Chubb.
At whether you generally have to get them, it's a value based thing. Sort of deal with these guys. Yeah.
Okay, so Matt, go first.
Nick Chubb.
Okay, Brett.
I'm still going Chubb.
Okay, Evan.
Nick Chubb.
Jay.
Chubb.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm full Chubb.
Full Chubb.
I know the second half was bad, guys, but I think the Seattle will bounce back a little bit.
Okay,
I love DK, but
I do too. But
this will be a fun one because the conversation we just had, and their ADPs are probably a little too far apart. But this may be a value-based question: Travis Kelce or Dalvin Cook? Chris, go first.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Dalvin Cook.
Jay, you're struggling with this one.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go. I think Cook. I want to go running back up top, so I'll take Cook. Kelsey's not too far behind, so.
I like Kelsey just because I can corner that position per se, and one of the other running backs could match Dalvin Cook's production.
Okay, Brett.
Yeah, I would take Kelsey at 5. So it's like Zeke, Saquon is my cutoff. So yeah, I'm taking Cook.
Okay, Matt.
If it was one player below Cook, currently CMC, Kamara, and Cook, I think are the 3 best options you can have in fantasy football overall. Yep. That's really the elite tier for me. If it was Zeke or Saquon or Austin Eckler, who's my guy, I love him. I would say Kelsey, where you're getting him towards the back end half of it, would be a better option. But Cook for me. Okay,
cool. I think I don't like Cook. I don't trust his injury history, but I'm still going here. This is a fun one. Josh Jacobs or Jarvis Landry?
Oh God.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Neither.
Matt, lead us off.
I was at one point the lowest ranker on Fantasy Pros of Josh Jacobs, so I will say Jarvis Landry.
I love it.
I can talk 15 minutes about why Josh Jacobs is one of the worst picks in fantasy football.
We don't have that time.
Bonus pod.
Brett, Jarvis Landry or Josh Jacobs?
Jarvis Landry.
No, I'm still taking Jacobs, but it's really close.
Okay. Evan.
I mean, with how much Cleveland runs, it's Jacobs for me.
Interesting. Jay.
I don't want to take either.
Yeah, I don't want either one. But
I really don't. I don't really. I
Option
feel
C.
it depends. Like I don't know where Jacobs is going on. I'll just say Landry.
Ooh, Josh Jacobs
goes
going
too high.
37th
I'm gonna get
overall.
Landry.
They're going like 40 spots in 80.
Yeah, I'll take the. I'll waste. I want to grab someone else, not Jacobs. I'm taking Landry.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris.
Yeah. Very. For me, it's pretty easy. I'm taking Jarvis Landry.
Okay. Me too. Jarvis Landry is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. That is all I got to say about that. All right. Last one. This one, like, seriously, these last four I just pulled out of my butthole. Ryan Tannehill or Kareem Hunt?
I saw this one. It was very weird.
I wanted to get one that was cross-positional with a quarterback. So
I'm
Chris, go
confused. I don't even know how to answer that.
CeeDee Lamb's going 3 picks ahead of Josh Jacobs. That's crazy.
That's
Exactly.
Oh my god.
yeah, but I
Chris.
mean, Josh Jacobs was the running back, 8 last year? What was
Because
Jarvis
of his
Landry?
touchdowns.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly. So,
that's
I mean,
it.
when we're
I'm
talking
just
Jarvis
concerned
Landry to Jacob,
Only
You
I'm
added
concerned about
Kenyon
Jacobs.
Drake, who is the exact same player in a lot of metrics. You didn't have to share a backfield with Kyler Murray running in touchdowns and have as
Well-
much production.
but when they get to the goal line, are they giving it to Drake or Jacobs?
They were again. I can talk to this phone because they literally
Drake had
added
a lot of.
They both had 10 touchdowns or whatever it was.
Yes,
Drake will score
that's the
too.
thing.
Okay.
Drake was the exact
Yeah,
same
they're
guy.
redundant. They're kind of redundant, which is
They're getting paid
But-
the same too. It
But
is
Drake can catch the ball
a little bit, a little
True.
bit,
a little bit better. If
a
Gruden
little bit worse.
feels
Josh
that-
Jacobs was better, but he didn't have
overrated.
Edmonds.
Right.
Right.
Drake's
So like, let's say
pass catching is
super
overrated.
flex. Right? Is it super flex or still one QB? So it's Kareem Hunt or Ryan
One
Tannehill.
QB.
Let's
Gotcha.
let's go super flex on this question. So
Oh, then it's Tannehill easy.
Tannehill.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
easy.
one
Easy.
QB. Sorry.
Move
Yeah.
on. Next question.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then let's do it one QB. Tannehill or Hunt?
Let's still
Matt,
take
go
it.
first.
And I really don't think Kareem Hunt is a good pick. 48% of his touches last season came in the fourth quarter. He was a running back closer. He is the best backup running back in the NFL, but he's a backup running back. Ryan Tannehill is probably one of the safest options you can have at quarterback if you're not taking one of the elite options. And to me, that's 6 quarterbacks right now. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a better overall pick for your fantasy team where you need to get him. Kareem Hunt is being overdrafted consistently.
Cool. Brett.
I can't nod harder. So yeah, I mean Kareem Hunt, you're drafting him in the 6th round in a 12-man, 7th round in a 10-man. You're starting him. I don't want to start Kareem Hunt. So yeah, Ryan Tannehill is the safer pick. I'm going Tannehill, and I hate Tannehill as a Dolphins fan. Like,
It wasn't his fault. That was
Yeah, he
Yeah,
had
that was
Gase.
Gase.
That was Gase.
yeah,
All right,
but
Evan.
I mean, Matt was right on cue with what he said. I mean, Tannehill is just the pick between these two guys for all the reasons Matt said.
Cool.
Yeah, ship
Jay.
it. Going with
Same
Matt.
Chris.
I'll agree. I mean, Tannehill's not as great of a value as he was. They added Julio, so people are like all excited. So people are late to the party. But yeah, I'm not comfortable starting Hunt at all. Even if it's PPR, it doesn't matter. I'm taking Tannehill, who you'll get he'll be a top 10 quarterback, and you'll draft him lower than that. So
Yeah, I have him at 7.
I think 7 or 8 for me.
I'm gonna take Hunt.
Browns
Only-
fan.
Only if he is my RB3 or later. Which
But
you
will he
can-
be?
Dude, I don't know if you're
the
drafting him.
6th
I think
round.
you can
Are
get
you
him
on
there.
3
Yeah,
or
you
4
could've-
straight running backs?
Yep.
No, he could have
Yeah.
gone 3 running backs, 3 receivers, pushed kick quarterback in,
And
tight
then
end.
you can take Baker, you can take Darnold, you can take Tua. After
Kareem
you-
Hunt or Travis Etienne. They're right next to each other right now.
Oh, I'm taking Etienne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt was not as good a receiver we thought last year. I think he came down with 38
He
balls. He's
needs a
not-
Chubb injury to really like.
And he
Yeah,
was
well,
terrible.
He still wasn't good
Here's
though.
the thing,
Right,
though.
I know,
so
but like to
that-
actually
if-
win you
if
a
we
week
take
or
Chubb
help,
out of
like,
the
he
picture,
needs-
where
Jay,
would you
I,
take
I
Hunt?
think we talked about this on your podcast. I can't remember.
Probably.
But because I came on for the AFC North, Kareem Hunt's points per game with Nick Chubb in the game. Does anyone know what it was?
I have that data.
Oh, I
actually.
had it somewhere. I did research
You
on
said
this.
it on the show. I can't remember.
Was it
It's
like 6 or 7?
13.6.
Oh wow. I had that
Oh,
thought.
that's shit. Yeah.
Kareem Hunt's points per game with Nick Chubb out for the 4 games that he was out last year. Anybody know what it was?
remember.
It's total points per game.
13.6.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, it was around
the
13.7.
Did not
yeah.
improve his production when
Nope.
Chubb was out. But you're getting a consistent 13.6 per game. Whether
Yeah,
Chubb
if you
is there or
want
not.
10 points, Cunt will get you that, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Oh.
Break, he's not winning you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, gentlemen, it was fun.
Oh hell yeah!
Really
I can't
was.
wait to do this again tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you use the hashtag FF Expo at home if you are not attending the expo and joining us on this adventure. Tomorrow at 1:00, we will be doing a draft live, and I'll share the screen, and it'll be hella fun. And then we're doing a panel tomorrow night at 9:00 Eastern. Send us your questions. You can DM me at FF Shane B. You can DM Matt at Mathodical1. You can DM Brett at DadBotBread. You can DM Evan at Ev_Rit3. You can DM Jay at JC_DFF.
Got
And
it.
you can you can DM Chris at the Commish FF. Make sure you send us your DMs. I don't care how you do it, but do that. Tweet us, DM us. Just send us your questions, and maybe be prepared to come on live with the panel. Guys, thanks for coming on with me tonight. This was a great kickoff to the FF Expo at home.